welcome to Kindness Never Fails. The world often sees leaders as symbols, as headlines, as names in history books. But behind every leader there is a human story, one filled with fear, pressure, hope, and sacrifice. On one side was Donald Trump, the former president of the United States, a man born into wealth and raised in a world where winning was everything, where power meant survival and pride was the ultimate shield. On the other side stood Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, a man who once made people laugh as a comedian but who now carried the weight of a nation on his shoulders, a nation fighting for breath, for freedom, and for its very right to exist. Two men, two worlds, two destinies colliding at a moment when history itself seemed to tremble. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of true human stories, please take a moment to like this video, share it with a friend, and subscribe to our channel. Kindness Never Fails. Together, we can spread hope where it is needed most. Zelensky's mornings were never quiet. He woke not to the sound of peace, but to sirens, to worried voices, and to the knowledge that every choice he made could cost lives. He had been a man of entertainment, a man of laughter, yet life had thrust him into a role where he was no longer simply Volodymyr but the face of Ukraine's survival. He looked at his wife and children and wondered if he would ever again sit with them without fear. He carried a heart full of love for his people, but also a weight so heavy that his body seemed smaller under the pressure. His challenge was not only political but human: how to stay strong for millions when his own soul was tired. Trump, in contrast, lived in a world surrounded by luxury, constant cameras, and voices of both praise and criticism. He was bold, direct, and often controversial. Yet, behind the speeches and the businesslike exterior, there was also a man who fought his own storms. He wanted to be remembered as strong, as unbeatable, as a leader who bent the world to his will. Every handshake, every deal, every conversation was, to him, another chance to prove his dominance. But that hunger for control sometimes blinded him to the quiet struggles of those far away, struggles that did not show up on balance sheets or in applause. When Trump and Zelensky's paths crossed, it was more than politics. It was a moment that revealed the fragility of nations and the power of choices. The world heard about their call, about aid, about promises and conditions. Many saw only a transaction. But if you look deeper, you could see a young leader asking desperately for help, and another leader calculating what that help might mean for his own future. It was a meeting not only of power but of need, of survival, of two different kinds of fear colliding in the silence of hidden rooms. For Zelensky, the struggle was raw. His country was small compared to giants, but his spirit was unshakable. He walked the streets of Kiev with his people, showing his face even when danger surrounded him. He was not the type of leader who hid behind walls. Instead, he stood in the open, tired eyes, unshaven face, but with a heart burning for his people. Families clung to his words, soldiers found courage in his presence, and children saw in him the face of a father protecting them all. Trump, meanwhile, sat oceans away in grand halls, where every word spoken could shake the markets or change alliances. He had power that reached across the world, yet his greatest fight was always to protect his image, his reputation, his place in history. Where Zelensky carried the weight of survival, Trump carried the weight of pride. And yet, in their own ways, both were prisoners, one of circumstance, the other of ego. The tension between them was not just about aid or politics, but about something deeper: the meaning of leadership. Is a leader defined by power, or by sacrifice? By the strength of his walls, or by the courage to stand with his people in the ruins? As history unfolded, the answer slowly began to show. Zelensky became a symbol of resilience, a man who gave his all not for fame, but for love of his country. Trump became a symbol of conflict, his name stirring debates and dividing opinions. But together, their story revealed something human: that leadership is never easy, and every leader, no matter how powerful, is still just a man facing impossible choices. As time passed, the world began to admire Zelensky not for being perfect, but for being real. He was flawed, afraid, tired, but he never gave up. He reminded the world that leadership is not about having everything, but about giving everything. Trump, too, remained a powerful figure, but his story showed how leadership without empathy can sometimes miss the deeper truth of humanity. And in the end, beyond the arguments, beyond the politics, what people remembered most was not the deals or the calls, but the image of a man standing in the streets of his struggling nation, refusing to leave, while another man across the ocean fought for his own legacy. Both men taught the world something, in different ways, about the cost of power and the meaning of courage. If this story touched your heart, please support us by liking this video, subscribing to Kindness Never Fails, and sharing it with someone who needs to be reminded that real leadership is not about power, but about love, sacrifice, and standing firm in the face of fear. Special request: comment below with the words "True leadership is sacrifice" if this story inspired you.